All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Read, Write, Local, Unbound. My name's Jerry Vogel. I'm your host, and this is a production of Avon Lake Public Library. And it's every Tuesday night during the summer, we meet with new authors. So this Tuesday, we've got a twofer. We've got Beth Overmyer, and we've got Rox Stiles. So we're starting with Beth, and I guess in order to welcome her, we've got a lot of her former reading group club from Amherst Public Library here, which is kind of nice. And other people may join us shortly. So let's get right into it. I wanted to say welcome, Beth, to our program, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Jerry.
Okay, let's talk about your career as a writer, which earlier, there's things I never knew. Like, for example, that you published you wrote your first novel when you were 12. But
my mom accidentally deleted it.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it was an accident. It was an honest mistake. I forgave her, obviously, but it was still a bummer.
Yes, you can't really go into Time Zero's with Time Zero and retrieve that successfully, I guess. But you could rewrite it, I suppose. You could try.
I could have tried, but I decided to move on to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, you've read a lot as a child, but you mentioned also that you didn't start really reading books until you were about 8 years old. That's when you found one of your favorites then, I guess, right?
Yes, Hank the Cow Dog.
Hank
I think
the
that
Cow
was
Dog.
by
I
John.
still haven't found that myself, but tell us a little bit about that book.
Oh, it's so cute. It's from the point of view of a dog that lives on a ranch, and he protects the farm. He looks after things, and just his adventures and his scrapes that he gets into. It's very sweet.
Okay, great. And then I guess as you got older, you fell into a fantasy and a mythological sort of groove, and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit became your thing, pretty much, your go-to.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I first saw the movies when they came out in the theaters. I hadn't read the books up until that time. And I'm like, I should give this series a go. And I did, and I just loved reading it. And it's how I made some friends with other people, other writers. And yeah, it just really inspired me.
So while you were doing all this, you were practicing your writing, and you were in various writing groups. And you mentioned that you joined some online through Writers Digest. You found some that way, and it just kind of grew?
Yeah, they listed, like, I think every year they have a top 100. And one of the sites that they listed was Critique Circle. And I got on there, and I just made some friends, got my work critiqued, and yeah, I just shared my writing and critiqued others as well. It's a very good site.
So the whole critiquing thing, I think, led to also down the line you being not just being part of writers groups, but leading some of them as well, and getting other people to bring out their best, such as this group at Amherst Public Library, of which I think we have most of the members here now.
Yes. Hi, guys.
Yes, we are all here. Not all of us, but a lot of us.
Yeah, quite a few of you guys. Yeah, I started that when Victoria left a few years back, and we've been going strong, except for during the pandemic. That's put a damper on things. But I've managed to run a bit of a group on Facebook where I post different prompts, and every week you can get on and look at those if you're part of the group.
She does. She posts some amazing prompts and story starters that we respond to with our own creations.
Yeah.
And we can sort of go off on our own tangent and create things out of the box that, spark our creativity.
Yes.
And it's fun too.
Yes.
It's fun too.
So tell us a little bit, Beth, about you started off in the publishing world a lot quicker than most people did. Your first novel that didn't get erased, In a Pickle, which is a time travel story, got picked up by a publisher like that. How did that happen?
Well, I knew some people who had published with Muse It Up, which was this publisher that published In a Pickle. And I thought, I'll give them a go. And I submitted it. And a few months later, I got a letter from them saying they accepted it. So they took me through the editing process after I signed a contract, of course, and read over it. And yeah, it came out like 9 months later, and that's the start of things.
And of course, not working with a publisher has its advantages, but also its disadvantages, I imagine, huh?
Yes, it does. You lose some control of your writing. Your title could get changed. You get edits that you might not like or agree with, but you have to go with it if you sign the contract. And yeah, you have to pick your battles. But mostly it's a positive experience depending on the publisher.
Yes, because you can be a really truly gifted writer, but if you haven't been in the industry and knowing what works and flies out there, they have an idea, even if it sometimes clashes with your vision, huh?
Yes.
Now you have since bought back the rights to In a Pickle, and we might.
I
see
didn't
what
have
it
to
does.
buy them back. Fortunately,
Just gave them back to you. They reverted.
They just gave them back. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, that's even better.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that available somehow on some platform.
I hope so.
Yes. Well, what is it sort of for you? What do you think was the hardest thing to get past when you started writing? What was the thing that you just was a barrier for you to break through?
Self-doubt. I have a lot of self-doubt, as Victoria very well knows. Just believing that I can do it and finishing a project and sending it in, just the whole process, it can be very discouraging. But at the same time, if you have people in your corner that really believe in you and encourage you, that can really be a boost to your self-esteem and just lifts you up and even betters your writing. Yeah.
Yeah, Beth is her own worst critic, but she is of course, she is her harshest critic because Beth is amazing. Truly, 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 she has an amazing talent for writing, as we all know that her writing ability is just astounding, and her ability to inspire creativity in others is astounding too.
Thank you.
So I guess so it's not just the people in the industry or the publishing business, it's people in your daily life. It's people around you. Could be your mom, could be a lot of people who are there in your corner for you.
Exactly. And a lot of it is my mom too. She's very supportive, and she'll play a sounding board for me. I'll throw out an idea and she'll say if it works or not, or she'll add something to it or ask the right questions to get me going.
Well, then let's move right ahead towards your current series, the Goblets and Immortal. We've got book number 2 recently out, Holes in the Veil, yes. And Victoria, I think you have both of them at hand there too, do you not?
Yeah, but they're backwards.
Your camera's backwards, yes, okay. Why don't you tell me a bit about where this whole idea came from? And before you do that, I mean, this is also with a somewhat major publisher, Flame Tree.
Yes.
And again, this is something where you don't have an agent or anything. You just pretty much sent a manuscript and they said, here's some money, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I submitted it I finished writing it. It took like 4 years. And I found them and I said, oh, this is a legit looking publisher. I'd like to work with them. So I submitted a query letter and I submitted the whole manuscript, and they read it, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting. I waited longer than usual. So I sent them a nudge and I said, hey, you have my manuscript. You normally take 2 months. I was wondering what's going on. And so like a few weeks later, I get an email, sorry it took so long, but ... we love it. We love to publish it. And here's a contract and here's some information you need to know as far as an advance and other things. So yeah, I was very excited.
So was this a whole different experience from your first time with the publisher?
Yeah, Use It Up doesn't, and Clean Reads, my other publisher, do not offer advances, but they do offer full editing and some promotion, but Flame Tree is quite a bit bigger.
All right, so you spent 4 years on the first one. That probably doesn't give you a lot of time for the second and the third one.
No, like a year to write and edit it. Yes, the second and the third, yeah. So
why don't, for the benefit of people who may be watching this who aren't familiar with your series, tell them, just give us the big picture. Who are some of the major players in this? What are the major themes?
Any characters? Yeah.
Why do people want to read this? Tell us why.
Well, to start off with. The book's about Aiden. He's a man who has magical abilities, and he's on the run from the law, which complicates things, of course, throughout the story. And his family went missing a long time ago, and he's trying to find a way to bring them back, even if that means working with his worst enemy. That's the first book. Second book picks up exactly where the first one left off, and it deals with looking for the questing goblet. It's a magical vessel that gives whoever drinks from it luck beyond measure. So that's the second one. And the third one has been accepted, but I'm waiting for edits on that, and it'll come out in 2023.
23, oh boy.
Have to wait a while, sorry.
Okay.
Are you already in the process of writing it, Beth?
I've written it and turned it in.
Oh, you've already written it and turned it in. Oh,
in the queue? Yes.
It's in the queue.
So you've probably now had some people who found this and may be getting some nutty fan mail or some sincere fan mail. What's it like having a following out there?
It's pretty good. I haven't gotten tons of fan mail, though I did for In a Pickle get a letter from a lady whose son has a reading disability, and he didn't like to read, but he loved reading In a Pickle. So that's the kind of thing I like to hear, definitely. But I've gotten some reviews for the Goblets Immortal, positive and negative, and I never respond to them unless they, say, hey, I wrote a review. I loved your book. Would you come and say something? Then I'll do that. But otherwise,
got mostly positive reviews for Goblets.
Mostly positive. Yeah. Quite a few positive, yes.
Yes. Very, very positive reception.
Yeah.
Well,
critically acclaimed.
Yeah, it's great when you can find connections to people, not just around here, but all over the country and elsewhere who are defining it. So I'm hoping that's going to continue.
Thank you. Me too.
Well, I guess with these books here happening, is there anything else you like to do on the side, writing related? Going to continue with some writing groups? Is there any other projects completely unrelated to this?
Yeah, I do. After the trilogy, I have a new duology that I'm writing that I'm going to send to Flame Tree. It's pretty much in the works. Julian and Ruthie up there have read it and given me some ideas. They're kind of my beta readers. They go over things for me and give me ideas. But yeah, I guess it's fantasy, and it's inspired a little bit like by Little Women. So fantasy Little Women, it just kind of sounded like a good idea to me. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And besides writing, doing the writing group, I'm hoping to start up again at Amherst when they've built the new edition. I think that's when they're going to start having meetings and stuff again, but maybe we'll meet at Arabica or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, it would.
All right. Well, I'm thinking, is there anything overall you would have if you had advice for people who are just going to write a book? How do you want somebody? How do you give somebody advice about how to start, how you did? Or is it going to be impossible to do because nobody's going to have the luck that you did? Or nobody's as good as you are? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Yes.
Everyone's process is going to be different. You have to be patient with yourself. Get feedback. Don't beat yourself up with it, though. Give it 24 hours. If you get a rejection, give yourself 24 hours to mourn, to mope, but then get back at it and pick yourself back up and just be kind to yourself.
That is the best advice. Be kind to yourself.
And I'm working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, any writer has to deal with criticism. And there's always negative criticism. And writers are very sensitive people, don't you think so?
Oh, yeah.
They're creative souls.
Yes, and our books are our babies.
Creative souls. Yeah, you're creating something that, takes heart and soul that you're putting into it. So yeah, criticism is hard to deal with, but Beth does it well. I mean, she's been able to succeed through it all. And yeah.
And that's in part to thanks to you and Ruthie and Julene and all my writing friends really that have contributed and just into my life and encouraged me. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, writers need to find their corner, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
People that
that's
are-
cool.
People that are in their corner,
Yeah.
Yes.
and just kind of
Support.
surround them and support them.
Yes.
Everybody needs a writing group.
I agree. Yeah, if you can find a good core of people just to write with and not only share your own writing, but to hear theirs. And because when you give feedback, that helps you think of problems in your own stories or in your own, whatever you're writing. It helps. Critiquing
Yes.
is important.
And the conversation and the camaraderie and the tea or the coffee help as well, don't you think?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Tea for sure. Tea all the way.
And the talk about pets, cats or dogs.
Yes.
Because some of us are cat lovers, myself and Beth, namely, and some of us are dog lovers, Ruthie and Julie, namely. But we get along.
I have
Yes.
cats too.
You have
Yeah.
cats too? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, I'm both.
Well, there you
Both
go.
ways, cats and dogs. What do you like? All right. So what are some of the things maybe that really surprised you along the way? Things that you weren't expecting at all, Beth, that just kind of came out of what you've done?
Well, that question for one. But other than that, let's see, what has surprised me? Probably just that I can actually do it, that I can write a book in a year. I mean, I never would have thought before, like it'd take me like 4 years. Some I'd work on for like a decade, but this is just like push it out really fast and just get it written and edited and sent in. It's like, wow.
It's surprising how fast that can work. Yes.
Yeah. And that they would expect that much, but really on average, publishers are expecting you to put out at least one a year. Some would like 2, some more, there's a really prolific authors out there. John Grisham, not Grisham, what's his face? Anyway, yeah, someone who puts out a book a year or more. It's just,
Well, if you have a
James
staff, you
Pearson.
can do that, right?
what?
If you have a staff, that can be done.
Yeah, or like a co-writer. Yeah.
The co-writer, yeah. Yeah, I'm always amazed by how writers that have publishers, how they are able to do that. I just think having that expectation kind of works against you, but that's, I guess, what you kind of got to do. And
Yes.
how do you do that?
Well, you
By
set
yourself,
goals
I
for
guess.
yourself and you have to pick and choose your project carefully. If it's something you hate, don't write in a genre you don't read in, don't write in a genre you hate. Make sure it's something you will enjoy reading yourself and just try to have fun with it while you're doing it.
But it is fun to read outside your genre.
Oh,
just for
definitely.
Inspiration, so you don't get in a lockstep there. So
Exactly.
with that, Beth, what other stuff have you read recently that maybe outside your genre, or maybe not, that you could recommend to any of us? What's really inspired you lately?
The first 15 lives of Harry August.
Oh,
Isn't that good?
yes. That's a whole
Oh.
world I'd love to live in.
Oh, just you're repeating your life every time you die. It's just
Yes, like
crazy.
Groundhog Day, but on a world stage.
Yes. Oh, that was so good. I liked the Six of Crows duology, but that's not a recent read for me.
Mhm.
And they made the Netflix series. So that was of Shadow and Bone, which is in the same universe.
Yes, that just came out.
Yeah. What else have I read that's really good? I'm reading not The Martian, the other book by Andy Weir, the most recent one. What is that called?
Hail Mary?
Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary. Yes.
Project Hail Mary, yes.
I recommend if you read that, don't read the blurbs and don't read the cover copy. Just be totally surprised. Go in with no expectations. You will be
Oh,
learning.
cool.
Mm.
Yeah. Science fiction.
So
Yeah, my husband consumes science fiction, Beth. I may have told you that already. He consumes it. It's like he breathes it.
but, well, I really like that 15 Lives of Harry August not so long ago. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I like anything by Blake Crouch lately too. So
I've never read anything by them. So
yeah. But
I'll have to look into them.
all right. Well, I guess this might be a good time if there's anybody who has any questions for Beth to ask away. Just unmute yourself and we'll roll with this. Anybody?
So I have a question. So Beth, you're awesome at writing fantasy, and you're awesome at writing like fiction with a sense of intrigue and romance, historical romance. Like you say, you're working on something that's a combination of fantasy and like Little Women.
Mhm.
Have you ever tried doing like a mystery?
Yes, actually,
Go ahead.
I have a project that I'm working on that I hope to send to my publisher down the road. It's a fantasy mashup with a mystery. So I guess you would call it, there is a word for that, urban fiction, urban fantasy.
Urban?
And yeah, it's about a werewolf who ends up investigating something.
Ooh, interesting.
I
Interesting.
hope-
Interesting. Do you ever write poetry, Beth?
Yeah, I do sometimes. Yeah, you
Yeah.
inspired me. to
I
write
know. We've done some poetry in our creative writing group.
some- Yes.
She's especially good at writing haikus.
I like haikus, you know.
I
that.
love haikus.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Anybody else got any nice softballs for Beth? Huh? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Did
Yeah.
a dream ever inspire you? Like after you woke up from a dream or a nap or anything, did you ever or yeah, I was curious about that.
Yeah, a lot of my ideas will come from dreams. Like if I'm having a problem with a story, I'll think about it before I go to bed, sleep on it, and then sometimes I'll wake up with an idea or I'll come up with an idea for a totally different story. Yes, dreams are a big inspiration. And I recommend having a notebook by your pillow and a pencil somewhere around there. And just when you wake up, oh, jot it down right away because you'll forget it if you don't jot it down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the things I enjoy about reading your books is the little breadcrumbs you leave that kind of make us guessing and trying to figure things out. No, I wonder if this or that. So I guess my question around that is, because I can't imagine how I would do that or keep track of that. So how do you keep track of your little breadcrumbs or decide what they are or what you want to build the suspense around?
Yeah, what's your
Oh.
system? Hmm?
I have a series Bible.
Oh,
A series Bible is where you write down different things kind of as you go along, like, okay, so and so's eye color and this plot twist, and this is going to later happen here. So I try to jot them down. But a lot of times I just store it in my head and I rewrite a lot. So when I'm rewriting, I'll go back and I'll see, oh, okay, I could tie this in here and I could twist this a little bit and do this other thing. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I operate.
Some of it's foresight, some of it's in hindsight at editing. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
and some gets retconned, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I like that. Beth, I did have another question. Did Aiden, your character, I love Aiden and Slain in Goblets Immortal. Did they like walk with you throughout the day and like always in your head and make you okay? I was curious.
Pretty much. Yes, they'll follow me around, they'll whisper in my ear, I should be doing this. And sometimes this is really weird. I don't know if other authors do this, but like I will get in a mood and it's like Aiden's mood. I'm in his head, he's in my head, and just I'm thinking and talking like he would talk all day. And it's just, I don't know how I treat people when I'm like that, but yeah.
Thank you.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of like an actor getting into character. You have to kind of get into your character in the book too. I suppose that's very helpful.
Yes, it is. And I've had some acting experience with community theater. Yeah. So that has helped a bit.
Awesome.
So I was just curious. So what tips do you use when your mind just goes blank? Like when you're like, okay, so what's next? Do you take a break? What do you do?
I tend to take a break. I'll step away from it, maybe work on something else for a little while and just let that percolate in the back of my mind. And then once, like maybe a conversation with someone, I'll just like, oh, and the light bulb will go off. I'm like, oh, that's how I can fix this, or this is what I could write next. But yeah, just driving forward too fast and just too heavy with your writing sometimes just doesn't work. You have to give yourself a rest and break. At least that's how I work.
Mhm. Well, we've got a few minutes left before it's on to our next author, but is there anything else you'd like to close this out with, Beth, as far as just sum it up?
Sum it up.
Sum everything up here. Summarize.
Okay.
Mhm.
Book 1,
Mhm.
book 2. And move my camera there. Yeah, just if you want to write good books, make sure you're reading. If you don't
Good tip.
have time to read, listen to audiobooks when you're in the car. Just keep the creative well filled. I know Julia Cameron talks about that, and just it's important to constantly give yourself food, nourishment. So read and write and look at paintings, study art. Just get into things and get excited about them, and that'll come across your enthusiasm in your writing.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you very much, Beth, for joining us this evening.
Thanks,
Very
Jerry.
shortly, in the next few minutes, we're gonna have our next author, Rock Siles, up. But I wanted to say it's great for you to join us. We look forward to the more books in your series. And thank you all the folks from the Amherst Public Library Writing Group for joining us.